Well, I'm delighted to be here. I see this as an investment, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Clearly, when I was raising my son Jeff and my daughter Cheryl, I used to emphasize to them all the time that actions have consequences. Actions have consequences. And implied in that is the lack of action also has consequences. And I think if you look at our state today, some of the consequences are apparent. But we get an opportunity through this transformation campaign plan that I hear you talk about to transform our school system in the way we educate our sons and daughters. Let me tell you why it's important to me, why it's been important to me all of my life. You're looking at a young man who grew up on the farm. I decided to get away from the farm in terms of opportunities was to work hard and to study hard. General David Petraeus, some of you probably know and have seen him in the newspaper. He's the commander of all our forces now in the war fight, both in Afghanistan and Iraq. General Petraeus is a colleague of mine, and indeed in many ways he's a young mentee of mine when I was growing up in the military. So he wrote me a letter a couple of years ago, and he said, "Jim, you be proud of our men and women here in Baghdad. They're taking the fight to the enemy." And I thought for a moment, now 5 years removed from the military, retired, I said, "David, we are in a fight here at home." I said, "We have more casualties here than you do on the battlefield in Baghdad. We're in a life and death battle to win the hearts and minds of our young people." I really truly believe that. I don't necessarily agree that it was such a passion until after Governor Perdue selected me to be the Commissioner of Corrections. Before, in the military, I understood the importance of education. When I first came as a young soldier in the 70s and I was a young lieutenant, I couldn't understand why a quarter of the soldiers that were in the military did not have high school education. But today, I tell you, there is a group of senior officers down at the Airport Inn from the Pentagon who are discussing the future of the Army, and they're all targeting the new recruits in our Army, and we take less than 1% of non-high school graduates. So the option even to go into the military is not there anymore. If you think about it, with all the technology that is involved, you can't read and understand the circuit breaker back here. We can't use you in the Army anymore. Another imperative for our young people to understand. But let me tell you about my experience as commissioner. Georgia. In Georgia, do you know 1 in 15 Georgians are under some form of supervision? That's a consequence, I believe, of our education system. And I'm going to tell you why. 75% of the men and women that I supervised when I was commissioner did not have a high school education. And there's 60,000 of them locked up. We're the 5th largest prison population in the nation, while we're on the 9th largest state, okay? On the 9th largest state, we're overachieving. So my being here is an investment. It's an opportunity for me to be your cheerleaders as we together try to reverse what is definitely the probably most important factor in the growth of this industry. $1.2 billion when I took over in 2003. Today, it's right at $1 billion, thank God. And the way we've diverted that is through a process of diversion itself and keeping people out of the system. But the future, think about what could the school system do with $200 million today infused. That's what the consequence of our actions if we do not succeed. We cannot build our way out of this crisis, and it's going to take from our opportunities to bring the very best educational opportunities to our sons and daughters. How about this? Of the 3 latest prisons we have visitation day 2 or 3 times a week. How about if mom, who's absent from the family, gets a chance to read to son and daughter? How about all of those male prisoners we got, most of them without high school education, stumbling through the words, nonetheless placing emphasis during visitation day by reading to their sons and daughters? And this would be the perfect complement, because a few years ago, Holly, you remember, we got an opportunity for inmates. If you want to get out of prison, we want you to adopt your own son and daughter over here. So we've got this parenthood initiative going on. How about if we continue that initiative and put books and opportunities for them to read? Because if they don't do that, there's this revolving door. So the sons and daughters of those 60,000 in prison, another 200,000 on parole and probation, are going to be victims of this battle. So I want to leave you with this thought. It's from Stephen Crane, one of my favorite poets. God has not given us, indeed, as you know, the spirit of fear as we take on a problem like this. Stephen Crane said, "We do not choose our battlefield. God does that for us. But we can plant a standard, right? Where a standard never flew." We don't choose our battlefield. This is a battlefield. That's my perspective. That's how I would think we would look at it in terms of campaign. We don't choose our battlefield. God does that for us. But we can set the standards high enough in whatever circumstances we find ourselves in. I'm just delighted to be here, and we commit to continue to work with you. And I'll tell BJ she has our 110% support. Thank you.